Destiny 3 is never going to happen. Stop trying is the topic we're talking about in this video, because of course the Destiny 3 category is now trending once again on social media. This happens once every few months because there's a sizable portion of Destiny players that believe Destiny 3 is the salvation to this franchise. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about this, and I'll be explaining my viewpoint, which is that we don't need Destiny 3, and that would actually only make things worse in every way, except maybe a few. And we'll get to those points in just a moment. But the first thing I need to mention is that you out there watching this right now, you are either a believer of Destiny 3 would be good for this franchise, or you believe that we just need to improve Destiny 2. It's one way or the other for every single person out there watching, unless you're just a true agent of chaos and you don't even play this game anymore. You're just subscribed to the channel to watch all the drama and fun. And if that's the case, I appreciate you. But we're only going to approach it from those two worldviews. And from those two perspectives, the first thing that we need to break down is that they all fall under the umbrella of everyone just wants Destiny, the game, to be the best that it possibly can. Whether that's improvements to Destiny 2 or Destiny 3 doesn't really matter. The goal is for the game to be as good as it possibly can. We're talking new activities, super high replayability, the lore, the story are very interesting and engaging, the weapons are crazy, the exotics are crazy, the activities are challenging, you've got solo activities, 3-man activities, raids. Destiny players want Destiny the game to be good, but is Destiny 3 really the best option? At this point in time, there is zero indication that Bungie would ever do Destiny 3. They have actually spoken against it many times in the past, quoting that they just want to continue this franchise and continue this game as it is. And when I posed this question on social media, I'm actually met with a lot of backlash, and I'm sure a lot of you have backlash in the comments, even as I've made it this far in the video, and that's perfectly fine. My main point is this: there is no problem that can't be solved within Destiny 2 that would require us to launch a Destiny 3. So therefore, all we're thinking about when we think of a Destiny 3 is, let's make the number bigger. Surely that will help, which is obviously a ridiculous notion, a ridiculous idea. But when you sit and think about it, if you actually come up with any points that would make Destiny 2 better in terms of things that would then be implemented in Destiny 3, there's actually nothing that can't be currently done to Destiny 2. The only thing, literally the only one thing, is this. Right now the game is developed using Tiger Engine, and people have criticized it as being poor in quality and nothing compared to Unreal Engine. So could Bungie potentially use Unreal Engine to develop Destiny 3? And if they did so, would it be substantially better? And while that is a possibility, and that is an actual exciting thing to think about, it's important to understand first that all of Destiny 2's assets from the ground up would have to be rebuilt or reimagined in Unreal Engine. Not to mention, if they just took everything that's in Destiny 2 and put it into Unreal Engine, it's not really making a new game, is it? It's basically just reselling you the old stuff that you had in Destiny 2, but now it's under a shiny new engine. Not to mention, the biggest frustration point here is that you as a player, you've acquired a ton of loot. You have a bunch of weapons, armor in your vault, countless things unlocked in the game, countless items and consumables. All of that would be gone with the launch of Destiny 3, because of course they would have to launch an entirely new game from the ground up. And historically, everyone has hated that. First off, everyone hated coming to Destiny 2 and losing everything they had from Destiny 1. And then secondly, in the middle of Destiny 2's calendar, we had Sunsetting launch, where players lost a ton of their loot, and we even lost planets, raids, and Crucible maps. No one appreciated Sunsetting. No one appreciated the launch of Destiny 2. What makes you think people are going to appreciate losing everything all over again with the launch of Destiny 3? Not to mention, all of the microtransactions that you've purchased in Destiny 2 would be meaningless in Destiny 3. None of that stuff would transfer over, or at least if it did, then you have an entirely another problem. And that problem would be basically Bungie recycling your content once more. They would be trying to effectively resell you Destiny 2 all over again, which would be extremely problematic, and everyone would call Bungie greedy once more and would probably push the community over the tipping point. I asked the community what upside there would even be from getting a Destiny 3, and I actually got a response from the OG Gathalion. A lot of you know him. He's a longtime content creator and longtime player of the Destiny franchise. His main bullet points were this: 1, player enthusiasm; 2, major engine changes; 3, an opportunity to leave trials behind and make a new endgame PvP without having to remove it from current game; 4, foundation; and 5, time jump. As I've already mentioned before, player enthusiasm is definitely a good thing. I think a lot of people would be excited for a Destiny 3, but your initial excitement would be met with despair when you realize that you're losing everything that you ever gained in Destiny 2. And I don't know if people could actually ever get past that resentment, just as a lot of people, even to this day, people are still resenting everything that they lost from D1. I mean, that was 3 years of time spent, and nothing from D1 transfers to D2. So that player enthusiasm point that was made, I think is a real double-edged sword, and you're risking a lot. If Destiny 3 is good, then the player enthusiasm exceed the frustration from losing everything, but that's a huge risk, a big risk, a multi-billion-dollar risk, in fact. The next part is major engine changes. Now, I know a lot of people love to make fun of the Tiger engine, but no one here really knows how it works. Bungie obviously doesn't give us the details of this engine, but we do know that historically it has been improved from time to time. So if the engine is actually in need of more improvements, there's no reason that it can't be improved. I don't think that launching Destiny 3 is a necessity to make those engine changes, so I don't see this point as being valid at all. And the next part is that they want to leave Trials behind, which I actually do think is a pretty valid point. I know a lot of people will criticize that. Currently, Trials of Osiris is the pinnacle PvP game mode, and leaving it behind for a new one would offer an exciting new future for PvP. However, I would argue that you could just introduce whatever new PvP game mode you would bring in Destiny 3 to Destiny 2 and see if it's successful. You're risking so much by launching Destiny 3 with a new endgame PvP mode that's not Trials of Osiris and is not proven to be successful. You're literally making the D2 launch risk all over again. And while even though I agree I would love for something to replace Trials, I think that the best case scenario for this is for something to be injected into Destiny 2 to replace Trials rather than taking the risk of launching an entire new franchise. The next point he makes is a new foundation, which to be fair I think is a little bit vague. I'm not exactly sure what a new foundation does for us, but it does sound exciting, and it obviously does invite new players to join the game, which has been a focal point for a long time now, where people believe that new players aren't going to come to this game because they're too late into the rotation. But that's always going to be an issue technically, right? Even if you launched D3 and you had a ton of new players join the game, after a year you're going to have the issue of, well, new players don't feel like joining D3 because it's been out for a year already. So that's honestly a never-ending problem. Maybe the solution to some stuff like that would be having a wipe in the game, like how a game like Escape from Tarkov does that, but we're already too late into the Destiny 2 cycle to introduce something like that. So perhaps if they launched a Destiny 3 and it had a wipe mechanic, like once a year everything got wiped from the game, or your inventory got wiped, or something along those lines to sort of level the playing field, I could see there being some validity to that. There's no reason why you absolutely couldn't introduce something like that to Destiny 2, at least if you started off slow or incrementally. All of that is possible in Destiny 2. It doesn't require us to launch a Destiny 3 in order to make that happen. The last one he mentions here is actually time jump, which I like quite a bit. I think it would be cool to jump around within the timeline of the Destiny 2 universe. We could go way back in time and fight in the Battle of Twilight Gap, or we could go way ahead in the future, or to a parallel universe out there. And while that does sound really exciting, there's no reason why we can't make that the seasonal story or the episode story coming in the future. The point I'm trying to get at is that all things are possible within Destiny 2, the game itself, and because we already have a base game that already has a solid player base, it is significantly better and less risky to add new things to this game, experiment with new things. Recently, Bungie has been trying out the checkmate modifier in Crucible, and a lot of people have been enjoying that. We need more of that. On top of that, in terms of creativity, Bungie recently added a Monte Carlo catalyst that literally made an auto rifle function as a glaive, and we need more of that as well too. The point I'm trying to get at is that Destiny 2 needs to move forward. It needs to evolve more. It needs to become a bigger and better game, and we're seeing that every single year. If you were to actually go back in time and play Destiny 2 a few years ago, you would be blown away at the amount of quality of life changes that don't exist, like the loadout system, Void 3.0, Arc 3.0, Solar 3.0. All of these systems and all of these things that have been improved on over the last 6+ years that we've been playing this game are what make this game magical and fun to play now. If you launch a new franchise like Destiny 3, you're going to start again at the bare bones level and have to work our way up. Honestly, if a Destiny 3 launched right now, I think it would be like 2 years before it would be even comparable to the quality that we have in Destiny 2, which doesn't sound like a fun or exciting 2 years to me. And the idea that Bungie could somehow take everything from Destiny 2 and reimagine and reshape it all into a Destiny 3 is honestly kind of just an absurd notion in my opinion. One, of course, we have the budget, right? We just had 100 employees laid off. Bungie does not have the budget to launch an entirely new franchise right now. Secondly, even if they did have the budget to afford to do that, we then have to reimagine pretty much everything, all the assets in the game, renaming the perks, renaming their functionality. The entire sandbox for both PvE and PvP would have to be drastically changed and different. And the key to all of this is that everything would be unknown. We wouldn't know if it would be successful or not, which is why it would be a huge risk. In fact, it would be a multi-billion-dollar risk, because if it proved to not be successful, we would have D2's launch all over again. And that could easily be the case where D3 launches, it's unsuccessful, so what does Bungie begin to do? Backtrack to make D3 turned into Destiny 2 again, which effectively Destiny 2 is actually just Destiny 1 with some small variations in terms of how it works bare bones, right? So why go through that again? Why are people interested in a Destiny 3? And that question I'm actually honestly not entirely sure of. I'm not sure why people are so interested in making the number bigger without having there be a clear, definitive upside to that, which is why I leave it to you in the comments below to let me know what you think. If you agree or disagree, that's perfectly fine. I know that this is a topic that really splits the community in two, but I'll be reading your comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and click on the screen here to watch another one. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.